Hello there guys, RMP792 here. So, I have now done 2 vlogs on Starship Troopers, the original book, Starship Troopers, the Paul Verhoeven movie, and today I'm going to talk about my favourite version of Starship Troopers, the Starship Troopers Chronicles, Roughnecks. Sometimes it's just called Roughnecks, sometimes it's called Starship Troopers Chronicles, sometimes it's Starship Troopers the series. Whatever you call it. It was a TV show from, and I'm just going to look this up because I might as well get it right, from 1999. And it was, I believe, the first computer or fully computer generated animation TV show. And it kind of shows. I'll be honest, while there's lots of stuff about the show I like, the animation does not hold up terribly well at all. Insofar as, the characters look kind of janky, the animation on everything is a little shaky, and generally it doesn't look good. But once you get over that particular fact and you get used to the slightly janky animation, it's not a major problem. This is never going to be a show where I'm going to be going on about how good it looks, but that's not what I like about it. So bear that in mind if you ever do manage to, if you ever have the desire to watch it. The animation sucks because of when it was made, but the rest of it holds up really well. The other major problem, and I'm going to talk about the problems first because I might as well get them out of the way, is that it was originally planned to be 40 episodes with 6 campaigns of 5 episodes each, and then a final campaign of 10 episodes that would basically round off the series. Unfortunately, it cost quite a bit more than the people who made it were expecting, and as a result, only 37 episodes were made, and 2 of those are clip shows that are not really part of the main story. You can ignore them completely and lose nothing. So, as a result, there's basically only 35 episodes, which means it stops halfway through the final campaign on a cliffhanger. Yeah, it's really kind of frustrating. I have no idea if they... it's one of those things, there's rumours bandied about that they completed the voice recordings for the final 5 episodes, and, one day they might... somebody might be able to finish them off, but that's a rumour that I've heard that may well be complete bollocks. If they do have them and they haven't been deleted somewhere, they're buried somewhere in somebody's archives, and I doubt anybody will ever find them. Which is a pity, because you could easily complete this series now on a teeny tiny budget, especially if you had those original voice recordings, because, to animate to the quality of the original show, you've got, amateurs on the internet who could do it quite happily. Because, again, best part of 20 years of computer advancements. What took a massive rendering farm back in the day, you can do on an average PC. Hell, you could probably do it on an average phone these days. But regardless, so those are the bad points about this show. The rest of it is pretty damn good. The whole premise of this show is it's not quite, it's not the book, it's not the film. It takes elements from both. So, for example, it retains the fact that Dizzy Flores in this version is female, rather than the male character she was in the book. But it also puts back in the powered armor from the books, but it's been toned down quite a lot from there, insofar as it's basically sort of, very swank space combat armor. So it's sealed against the environments. They can use it as a spacesuit. In fact, they do in most places. There's also a sort of toned-down version without the full rebreather pack and without the full helmets for when they're on planets that can actually support human life. So that's a good element. It focuses on the squad as a group rather than just on one member of it. So basically each member of the squad is a recurring character, which makes obvious sense. So in this case, the squad consists of Johnny Rico, Dizzy Flores, Carl Jenkins, who is now a member of the Roughnecks rather than being, the sort of high up, military intelligence guy, gets more and more sinister as it goes on. There's also Doc, who is obviously, as you can determine, is their medic. Sergeant Bruto, who is their sergeant and is kind of a dick, but missing someone. Oh yeah, and their reporter. Yeah. The narrator for the series is, and again, I'm going to look up character names because it's a little while since I've seen this show, because it used to be on YouTube and it ain't anymore, and I don't have a copy myself, which is annoying. Yes, it's Private Higgins. And, and I forgot about Gossard as well. And Private Higgins is basically a reporter who's been embedded with the squad, and he's passed MI training, but he's no soldier. He is there to document things. So more often than not, he's shooting the bugs with a camera rather than with his gun. And his squad gives him a lot of flack for this, kind of understandably. And ultimately, part of it is the squad learning to accept him both as a trooper and as a reporter, because he's got a bloody job to do. And it's the main thing this show has going for it is character development. Insofar as over the course of those 35 episodes, every character goes through significant change. Whether that be Sergeant Bruto being an absolute dick, then they get a new member of the squad, who I won't spoil because you should absolutely watch this show. And he's an absolute dick to him, but they end up developing a really close relationship. And later on, when Bruto's son turns up, he actually wants this particular character, who's a colossal dick to keep an eye on him because he trusts him. And it's little moments like that that really sort of buoy this show up. So it's very much a character-centric piece. So each individual episode is basically its own individual little story within the bounds of each campaign. And each campaign is set on a different planet. So the first one is on Pluto, for example, where they've gone along and they think it's just simple operation to clear out a local bug infestation, because at that point they don't realise that the bugs are as smart as they are. And then right at the end of the Pluto campaign, they see the bugs basically load onto a Starship, which is basically just a really big bug, and skedaddle. And that's the point at which they realise, oh crap, this war's a lot bigger than we thought. And they end up chasing them to another planet, which they think might be their home world, and of course it turns out it isn't. It's just another stop-off. And from there we get 5 episodes on that planet, which I can't remember if the Tophet campaign is the second one. It doesn't matter. But yes, and from there, and so 5 episodes, and they go to various different places. And as I say, the last 10 episodes are, the intended last 10 episodes was the final campaign. It was set on Earth. In a kind of, oh hell, the bugs have made it to Earth, this is really, really bad. And then it ends. Because of course it does. But some of the other stuff it does that I really, really like. There's an episode in which we basically get flashbacks to Rico's training under Sergeant Zim, and they got Clancy Brown back to voice him. I am all for this, because Clancy Brown is great. He's really, really good as Sergeant Zim, and he works really, really well as a voice actor. He always has done. So having him back to voice Zim really, really works. And there's a really nice bit where he turns up in, I think it's the last episode that they made, so episode 35, where he basically ends up operating as the squad sergeant. And and he has some really, really good advice that basically amounts to what is the purpose of a sergeant? He's not there to lead the squad. He's there to make sure that the lieutenant's orders get carried out. And it's perfectly fine for a lieutenant to basically say, okay, what are your recommendations, squad? Provided he then makes the decision of which of the recommendations they follow through with. But I say that's all. The other characters are also pretty good. It gives Xander Barkalow from the film a considerably expanded role. And again, in the film, he's a dick. He is kind of a dick, but at least he dies well. Whereas in the show, he starts off as a bit of a dick. Then they get to know him better. They go through some stuff together, and he basically starts to actually appreciate that MI grunts aren't just there to die. They are people, and they matter. And he gets a lot more mature and a lot more sensible. And again, he's a much better character for it. Same goes with basically everybody. I really can't stress this enough, how much development these guys go through in 35 episodes. And it's so much more and so much better than a lot of TV shows managing their entire runs. There are plenty of shows where you look at a character in season 1 and you look at a character in like season 9 or 10, and they're basically the same guy. With no significant change. You can put them back in season 1 and they act in exactly the same way. And that's just not realistic to me, because people grow, people learn new things, and people change. Which, so this show is really, really good for that. Carl, for example, his growing psychic powers basically make him creepier and creepier and creepier. And again, that works really, really well to make the squad really kind of nervous about him. Even if his powers are very useful. There's one bit where he basically just explodes a brain bug. With the power of his mind, and you're just like, oh, that's kind of scary. But yeah, it's just a really, really good series, and I wish I could get a copy of it, because for some stupid reason in this country, I can theoretically buy the DVDs, but they sell them as separate campaigns, which means I'd have to buy 7 separate discs at about 20 quid each. I'm not paying that for 35, 20-minute episodes. As I say, they were all on YouTube at one point, which is how come I saw them. But, the person who uploaded them's obviously had to take them down, which is a pity. I don't know who the hell owns the rights to it and whether they think they're making money off it, but I don't know. If it ever comes on Netflix, I'll definitely watch it again. And as I say, weirdly, going back to the animation for a second, weirdly, the animation when they're in their combat armor is fine, because you can only really see, this bunch of their faces, and the rest of them is completely covered in combat armor, so it doesn't matter that it doesn't really look anything like skin. It's only when they take their helmets off and you realise that the hair is basically a solid. They basically look like characters in an old BioWare game where the hair is just a complete solid mass. Yeah. So yeah, I'll freely admit, a video game from a decade ago has better graphics than this show. But it doesn't really matter. The bugs move kind of wrong, which is mostly due to the dodgy CGI, but at the same time, yeah, they're aliens. So the fact that they move kind of wrong actually doesn't really make a big difference to the enjoyment, if that makes sense. It makes sense that they don't move right because they're just completely alien. So, yeah, all I can really do is strongly recommend you go out and try and find a copy of this show. It's not worth what it costs on Amazon, I freely admit that. But it's well worth checking out if you can find it on YouTube or any of the streaming services or anything like that, provided you don't mind the fact that the animation is hideously janky. The voice acting is pretty solid overall. Some people are better than others. Some take a little while to settle into their roles. There was actually an interview with one of the actors where he freely admits he didn't really find the right voice for the character until about 4 or 5 episodes after he joined the series. But given that that's actually about the point at which that character undergoes a serious personality shift, the fact that his voice kind of changes slightly then actually works to the benefit of the character, so I don't have any kind of a problem with it. It's also got a couple of really nice little things. So in the movie, for example, the standard battle cry is, "Come on, you apes, you want to live forever." Whereas in the show, right before they do each combat drop, and they actually do the full-on combat drops, where they'll just drop straight out of a dropship. The comment is basically, "Live forever, apes." And they all sort of reply, "Ho!" and then they drop. And it's little things like that the film's much more of a come on, rah, let's do this, and the show's much more okay, guys, let's do this, keep yourselves alive, this needs to get done. And yeah, so it's just a really good show. There's a good variety in the places they visit. So one world's like 90% water and almost no land, so they have to do a lot of sort of underwater or beach type operations. One planet has this native life form that's allied with the bugs and is very, very hostile to them, and that's an interesting dynamic. They're fighting on Earth at the end, which is pretty kind of scary. But yeah, ultimately, it's a really good show. It's got really good characters, really good character development, and ultimately, I strongly recommend it if you can find it, which is the problem. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got. So yep, that's basically it. So thank you very much for watching this little string of 3 vlogs. I'll try and think of something to talk about next week. Side note, if you've got anything you want me to talk about, or any recommendations, anything you'd like to hear my opinions on, comment section is there. Please feel free to ask and request. I will, I do read every comment. And if you ask about something that I'm perfectly happy to talk about, then I will talk about it. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in future videos.